Welcome to another edition of Dallas Express Sports Network. We got Elfin Bonner from The Ticket.
Hello, my man.
And we got Chris Putnam, CEO of the Dallas Express News. And the legend, three-time Super Bowl champion, Daryl Moose Johnson in the house. All right, man. How's it going?
Awesome.
Thanks for coming aboard. Daryl's talking about the Cowboys, not 30 years and all this nonsense. But people don't realize when you first came to the Cowboys, they were worse. Everyone thought, oh, you played at the Super Bowl. Wait a minute. You came in 89.
Yep.
How bad was that team? And what was the playing for that? One win.
Yeah, one win. But, we heard it from everybody. If you're going to win one game, you pick the right one. It was Washington at Washington.
Palmer, touchdown. The second touchdown all year. Dallas has scored the third quarter.
We could see the style of the guys. If we're gonna be bad, we're gonna be bad. But when we have to win, we pick the right game. We shouldn't have been 1-15 that year. We should have been, 4-11. It takes a long time for a group to learn how to win together, and so we found very, very creative ways to lose football games in 1989. But that was not a 1-15 team. That was more like a 4-12 team, and just had to go through that process of learning how to win together.
Young man who can block, who is averaged also as a runner, 5 yards a carry.
He's a great blocker, tough inside runner, and a real sure-handed receiver. This is a value choice for the Cowboys.
It was funny because when I came in, I had teammates from Syracuse that got drafted to teams that were competitive. That's an 80. Oh my God, these guys got a shot at winning the Super Bowl. We're 1-15. I'm almost positive I was the only guy from my draft class in Syracuse that ever played in the Super Bowl, let alone won. I'm not going to say I saw it coming. I think Jimmy did. I think for us, the epiphany came in the spring of 91 when we made the change and brought North Turner in. North Turner does not get the credit for a game day play caller that he deserves. He was incredible.
When people talk about the 90s Cowboys, they always mention how much talent you guys had. But what was the culture really like inside the locker room that made you guys champions?
Well, I would challenge them on all the talent that we had. I mean, you're going to focus on a Troy Aikman and Emmitt Smith and a Michael Irvin for the talent. But, I mean, look at that offensive line. That offensive line was pretty much intact, from when we arrived in 89. And then you added Mark Stepnowski and Eric Williams. But, I mean, it's Mark Tuinei, Kevin Gogan, Nick Newton. I mean, a lot of the guys that were key there were already there. I think that was something that grew together with us. And how many times do we see individual talent go to a place and it never really comes together. Right. And I think the big thing is your second part of that question is what was the culture and the chemistry in that locker room? I tell everybody all the time, there was tremendous leadership at every single position from somebody. Mm-hmm. And then there was tremendous leadership on the offensive, defensive, and special teams component of our team. And, that's the most important thing. When you have great leadership in the individual position and then great leadership in the three phases, you got an opportunity for success.
That was a short list of your position.
Yeah, it really was. And this is what
I know people kind of had a fear of Jimmy because he would have the wrath on every. Was there a player that guys feared?
Oh God, a lot of them. Eric Williams is the meanest, most violent player that I've ever seen on the NFL field. Absolutely. If Eric Williams doesn't get in that car accident, he is in the Hall of Fame.
Oh man!
And I've shared this story with people.
Maybe it should be anyone.
Yeah, I think rightfully so. I agree with that. When we heard about the accident and it started to escalate as the morning wore on, it started off as something that was not too serious. But by the time we got to about 10 o'clock, it started to become apparent that this is something that he may have lost his life in. So we finally tracked Eric down and we went down to see him. And while we were in his room, the phone rang and he picked up the phone and he's on the phone. He's got tears in his eyes and he hangs up and we're like, is everything okay? He goes, yeah, that was Reggie White just telling me to get back on the field. The game won't be the same. Why?
Wow.
So that's one of my favorite stories about the respect that the guys in the NFL have for each other. Because I tell people all the time, you want to see something fun? Google Eric Williams versus Reggie White and just sit there and watch it.
Ripping each other's heads up.
Unbelievable. But Eric I was scared to death of him. Gogs was crazy. Charles Haley.
Oh, that's good.
Mark Tuinei we called him the silent warrior. Mark.
He's the guy you want in the alley, though.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. Another great story there with him and Randy White.
Yeah.
Everybody it was a locker room question. If you're in an alley and you can only have one guy there, who's the guy you want? And for a long time, it was Randy White. Well, then all of a sudden it became, somebody told Randy.
Oh, yeah.
Or somebody said something and they're like, hey, Mark Tuinei's name is starting to pop.
That's right.
And there's a story of those guys over in the Pro Bowl together. Mark lives in Hawaii, so he comes down and he sees Randy, and they get into a little bit of a tussle with some guys. So now you're taking the two top dogs, and some of these guys are messing around with those guys. But
You mentioned Charles Haley. Were you witness to the toilet flushing incident with Jimmy?
I was not. I was not. I was. I may have been one of the first people he met when he came in, because I was driving in that day, and the news was coming across the radio, and they're like, Dallas Cowboys make a trade. Oh boy!
Oh yeah,
this is going to be interesting. So I'm in the hot tub, and I'm reading the newspaper, and the door opens up, and I look up, and it's Charles Haley walking in. I said, "Well, we're going to find out how it's going to work here pretty quickly." So
if you don't know that story, he was doing something crazy, and Jimmy pulls him in the bathroom, flushes the toilet. He goes, "You see that, Charles? That's your career going down the toilet."
Here's the psychological Jimmy. I mean the games he played with people.
He never gets the credit he deserves for being. Personnel guy either. I mean, that first, we take a lot of pride in our draft class. We're not the dirty dozen, but Troy Aikman, myself, Mark Stepnowski, Tony.
It's
pretty nasty.
That's your first 4 picks, and then that's 10 plus years.
I know,
from each one of those guys. So that's a pretty amazing draft right out of the gate for him. And what made our offense unique is we had supplemental positions that were very versatile. So we could do a lot of different things. So we would be in the huddle in standard personnel, and we could come out and we could run downhill on you, but we could also open up the formation and move some of those guys around, those chess pieces around. You have to cover Michael, and you have to account for Emmett, and it's like, are you going to commit to stopping the run? Are you going to commit
You can't stop it.
You can't stop them both.
No.
And so we're just going to expose you when we get your decision. So we were not overly complicated. We were just very confident in what we did, and we just always felt that nobody could stop us.